What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman back at it again with another video, and this is the inaugural episode of a series I'm starting on my channel called Coach Me Up. Obviously, it's been the off season for what feels like 900 months now, and content is getting really dry. Sometimes there's just literally nothing to talk about, and I have to get really creative, and I really don't do these kinds of things where I bring a guest onto my channel, and I feel like this would be a perfect time to start. Before I get into the nitty-gritty details of the video, you guys know the drill around here. If you're ever hungry, if you're ever thirsty, be sure to consume your Mott's applesauce. I promise it will never disappoint you. Also, I just want to say that hopefully you can bear with me through this process. Like I said, this is obviously the first time I'm doing something like this on my channel. This is the first time I'm having a guest. This is the first time I'm doing Coach Me Up. So there might be some obvious kinks here and there where I'm trying to still figure things out with this kind of video. When I came into this process, I wanted it to be something similar to how I usually do my regular videos, but I quickly realized in the middle of recording this that it was not going to work that way. I think there's a lot of potential with this series, so just bear with me through the bumps and bruises. I beg you. I think it's going to get better over time. Expect these videos in the future to be on the longer side that are more raw and uncut footage. It'll probably just be more of a podcast style with a video. So instead of my, kind of cut commentary videos that are like 10 or 12 minutes long every other day of the week, on Fridays will be, this kind of video. It'll just be a very raw, very uncut video of me having conversation with whoever my guest is. So yeah, definitely a different style of video than what I'm used to putting out on my channel, but that is okay. I want to branch out. I want to get out of my comfort zone. I think it is a very good way to get creative in the off season, but nevertheless, what is Coach Me Up? Coach Me Up is a series that I will be starting on my channel in which I bring a guest on here and I pretty much pick at their brain and try to spark good conversation through different creative questions. I incorporated 3 different games in which I am going to ask them questions. But my guests will get to pick one of these 3 games. The first game is called 2-Minute Drill. It's pretty self-explanatory. You get 25 seconds to answer 5 one-word opinionated answers, like what is your favorite team, for just the sake of example. They give their favorite team, and then once you go through all 5 of those questions in the 25 seconds, we'll have conversation about those answers afterwards. Second game that my guest can pick from is called Devil's Advocate. I think once I smooth this game over some more, it could be a real big hit. Nevertheless, the game is pretty simple. I ask my guest a controversial football question, and they will give me their answer. I will play Devil's Advocate in the conversation. No matter what they say, whether or not I agree with them, I'm going to ask and talk about the opposite side to force not only myself, but my guest to come up with an argument on the spot. So I think everybody's heard of the term Devil's Advocate. Whenever you're talking to somebody about something and they're always giving you the opposite argument, that's what the Devil's Advocate is, and that's the point of this game. I think this game could really take off once I smooth out how I really want to do it, but I think the premise is there, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm playing Devil's Advocate in a pretty on-the-spot conversation. I think it'll be a good one. And the third game, well, I have yet to come up with it, and that is okay. Like I said, this is all a work in progress. I will come up with that third game by next episode. So yeah, this is a longer intro than usual. I hope you stuck around for it because it is pretty lucrative to how I want to do this series. And one more quick thing before I get into all of it, I want to give a genuine thank you to my first guest on my channel ever, Vince Taylor. He is on the Built-in Buffalo team like myself. He does his own podcast called Buffalo on the Brain with Vince Taylor. He does a segment called Mafia Hot Seat, in which I got the idea from for this entire series. I did my own spinoff of the Mafia Hot Seat. If you're interested in that, please make sure to go check out Vince's podcast every single Monday. I also just want to thank him for rolling with the punches through the recording of this video, because behind the scenes, it was rocky. It was not a smooth ride, but he stuck with me the entire way. He was real cool throughout the entire thing. Even when I was screwing up when I was recording, he was still cool the entire way, and I really appreciate that because this is the first episode. I've said it 3 times now. It was not going to be smooth no matter how much I thought it out, and he was just, he rolled with it the entire time, and he was cool the entire time, and I just want to thank him for that. I will definitely have Vince's podcast linked in the description below, so please be sure to check that out. You will not be disappointed. Nevertheless, longer intro than usual. I hope you enjoy, and this will definitely get to be a pretty damn good series once I get it up and running. Hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. So this is the first episode of Coach Me Up. I decided that I would return the favor in having my friend Vince Taylor, who is a part of the Built-in Buffalo content creation team. He had me on his podcast. He does the Mafia Hot Seat every Monday. He had me on, and I decided I would, of course, return the favor. This is the first episode that I am doing of having people on. I'm calling it Coach Me Up, and this is the first episode I'm having. Vince is my first guest. Vince, would you like to talk about what you do on Mondays?
Caveman, I am so thrilled that you wanted me to be part of the inaugural episode. That's awesome. What an honor. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm Vince Taylor. I'm the host of Buffalo on the Brain. I'm Mondays on the podcast network, Built in Buffalo Podcast Network. Caveman is one of the newest members of the team, and I'm so thrilled that that you had me on your show because I'm a fan of your work. I like the way you deliver your opinions, and I like what you're trying to do now. Just fairly creative stuff, and I'm so thrilled that you're part of the team.
Right back at you. I really enjoy your podcast. Your podcast was, I think, the first one I listened to when I first joined the team, and I was immediately in love. I say it in the group chat a couple of times too. Like, I was never a podcast listener before I joined the team. Never. I was just never really interested me. Never. I just was always a video watcher, television watcher. I'll watch whatever television, ESPN, whatever it might be. Podcasts were a first for me, and your podcast was genuinely the first one I listened to on the team, and that's really what got me into it. So I really enjoy it.
You're giving me way too much credit, man.
No, not at all. And like I told you before the recording started, this is my idea for this video, and this kind of series I'm going to be starting is based off of the Mafia hot seat. It's kind of just my own spin on. So let's get into it. So coach me up. I did in the first portion of the video, I did kind of describe the games that I'm going to be presenting to Vince very briefly, but I will go over them once again. So he has three options to choose from, three different games. One is just a game of just asking regular questions. I'm not going to be getting too in-depth, nothing too crazy, just asking him a couple questions and we can have a conversation about. The second game that I will be presenting to Vince is called 2-Minute Drill. It's kind of like a spinoff of what the Fast Money on Family Feud. It's just 5 questions in 25 seconds, except you're not trying to get right answers. It's not a trivia game. You're just giving an opinion. It could be a yes or no question, or maybe a one-word answer, maybe a team answer. Just very brief. And then after that, after you go through the 5 questions, we can talk about it afterward. And the last game he can choose from is Devil's Advocate. Devil's Advocate is a game that I came up with in which I present a controversial topic to my guest, being Vince in this case, and he's going to give me his opinion on the topic that I present. And even if I agree with it, even if I don't agree with it, whatever my opinion is, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Whatever Vince says, I'm going to play the opposite, and it kind of puts us both on the spot and having to come up with a counter argument to everything we say. So Vince, let's just get right into it. What game do you think you'll be interested in playing? You're the first one that I'm going to have, so I guess we're going to see how these games go. Maybe these games will stick on the episodes that I want to try and do weekly. Maybe they'll stick, maybe they won't. We'll see how they go. Which game do you think you'll want to go with today?
Caveman, I'm interested in Devil's Advocate. I think that's interesting because I could potentially make you craft an argument for something you don't want to believe. So I like the idea of that, and I think that's sneaky. I like it.
Yeah, I was just really trying hard to think of something that could really put my guest on the spot, have a couple different options of games that maybe if they don't want to be put on the spot, they don't have to choose it, but a game that could put them on the spot potentially as well. So you chose Devil's Advocate. So the question that I have for you, the controversial topic is, did Lamar Jackson deserve to be on Pro Football Focus's top 50 players list? They released a list of top 50 players in the NFL. Lamar Jackson was left off of it. You had your 5 primary suspects in Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Patrick Mahomes. They also added Dak Prescott to that list, but Lamar Jackson was not on the list. So do you think that was a rightful snub? What is your opinion on that?
No, I don't. I think Lamar Jackson belongs on the list, and I have no problem with the other guys listed there. Lamar Jackson has won an MVP. He is he's definitely not your prototypical quarterback. And yeah, he is probably lacking some in his passing game skills. But when you're talking about Lamar, you're still talking about a franchise quarterback. And he has won an MVP. He's been on winning teams. He deserves to be on the list. And leaving him out feels like they're maybe overlooking it. Maybe that it's PFF. Maybe that's done purposely. Maybe not. But I'm not saying that I believe Lamar belongs in the top 5. But is he in the top 50 players in the NFL? Absolutely, hands down. There should not even be a debate about that.
So do you think that Lamar Jackson is a quarterback that you would take over maybe a younger guy? Like, do you think he's brought enough to the table that, maybe like I would almost personally take a guy like Justin Herbert at this point in time over a guy like Lamar Jackson? Maybe I would even go as far as to say as Trevor Lawrence, because they're just a guy that I know will be able to pass the ball. My biggest problem with Lamar Jackson has always been his passing ability. You can bring up any argument you want, talking about, he can pass the ball. He's got all these yards, blah, blah, blah. But when it really comes down to it, when he has to pass, when he has to drop back, he really struggles. I understand the argument that he really has never had a number one receiver. He's not in a scheme that allows him to pass effectively. But I also don't think he's even shown the ability to pass the ball. I mean, there was that tweet that went viral for a short time of him throwing that out route, and the ball was like fluttering in the air. It was an awful throw. Just little things like that to pick on Lamar about. And I just don't think he is a quarterback that I would take going forward because of the lack of passing ability.
I would listen to an argument about Justin Herbert, but Joe Burrow, I don't know. And Trevor Lawrence, no, because Trevor Lawrence right now we think could be good, but he's a big unknown. If Trevor Lawrence turns into Baker Mayfield, would you rather have Baker Mayfield than Lamar Jackson? I'm going to go Lamar. And I recognize full well saying that I'm taking all the good with all the bad. And there is some bad there, but everything the whole total package that Lamar brings to your team, he's worthy of that top 50 mark.
Yeah, and funny you bring that up. You think that you would take Lamar over Baker. You actually made this game easier for me because I'm probably one of the biggest Lamar Jackson haters. And if you would have chosen no for this question, I would have had to really dig deep as to why I think Lamar should have been on the list. So you actually made this relatively easier for me.
Damn it, redo.
I think I would rather take Baker Mayfield. I'm going to be honest, and that might be shocking. I'm not saying Lamar Jackson is a worse quarterback, but I think in terms of who's going to get it, I guess I am saying that. That would be incorrect to say. What I think I'm saying is when it comes down to games where they got to win or when the team has to win, Baker Mayfield is probably going to get it done. Lamar Jackson has not shown the ability to get it done in big games. He's been in the playoffs 3 seasons that he's been in the NFL. The first time I understand it was his first go around. He was just thrown in there as a rookie. He did not do too hot in that playoff game. Everybody was screaming to put Joe Flacco in. Second time around, squat. Third time around, yeah, he did a little bit better. But still, you would think at this point in time, you would be seeing a little bit more progress, especially with that defense that the Baltimore Ravens have. I mean, they're carrying a majority of the load, in my personal opinion. I understand that the Ravens do have a pretty damn good offense, but at the end of the day, without that defense, I don't think the Ravens are in a lot of games. And I think Lamar Jackson is the centering reason for that because he just can't punch the ball in the end zone when it comes down to using his arm.
Well, I'm going to give you another example of a guy who had that same criticism at this point in his career and even a few years after this point in his career. He was a man who didn't win any championships in high school. He didn't win any championships in college, and it took him a long time to get a championship in the NFL. That man is Peyton Manning, who I still think is one of the greatest ever. He's probably right up there with Brady, just maybe a tick or two behind Brady. But he had that same criticism as he couldn't perform when the lights were on and everything mattered. But he eventually was able to get that done. And I think that Lamar he needs help. He needs the defense. He needs the run game. He's not going to do it with his arm, but he is so dangerous that he can just wait for you to make a mistake and then boom, he's gone. Is he a top 5 quarterback in the league? No. Is he a top 10? He's just outside the top 10. Is he a top 50 player in the league? I say again, absolutely.
So that's it. So that's interesting. You think he's not a top 10 quarterback, but you think he would be a top 50 player in the NFL?
Yeah. He's a franchise quarterback.
Okay.
You could build your franchise around him. And I think that his lifespan for a quarterback might not be as long as some other guys. I think if he ever loses a step, his career is going to be real short, and he might not even be a starter without his legs. But I think he's going to burn really bright for a short while.
Yeah, I guess that would be the exact reason why I would almost take a guy like Baker Mayfield over Lamar, because you just don't know how long a guy like that can keep up that type of play style. I mean, he himself really didn't even slow down in 2020 compared to 2019. I just think it was more that teams figured it out. Teams were starting to figure out how to stop a guy like Lamar Jackson that was so dynamic with his legs. And, not even mentioning the injury factor that comes with playing like that. You never know, just one hit or one wrong step as he's running up the sideline, and he could tear a hamstring that could be bothering him for a while. He could roll an ankle. I mean, the possibilities are endless. We worry about Josh Allen running. I would be worried as a Ravens fan to see my franchise quarterback being primarily a runner. And you can always work on not getting hit and sliding and going out of bounds at the right time. But when you're running that much, it's just inevitable. You're going to get hit. So, between the factor of him potentially getting injured on top of the fact that teams are probably going to figure out your running style. And if you don't figure out how to pass, then your dynamic play on the ground won't last very long. I think that is only a combination for failure at the end of the day. And that's why I would take a guy like Baker Mayfield and, maybe even Joe Burrow. I would take chances with guys that are younger just for that simple reason.
I think maybe we had some similar concerns with Josh Allen, maybe in his rookie year and part of his second season, when he would just always want to take to the ground and take those shots. And even going into last year, and we like to see it, but we also hate to see it. Mm-hmm. So, and Josh Allen's bigger and he's heavier and he's thicker. And if he gets hurt and can't scramble as well, he's got his arm. He's not going to be completely ineffective back there. But I think if Lamar gets hurt and can't scramble, then the Ravens are in trouble.
Absolutely. And I would almost fault the coaching style as well. I think they really didn't do a good job of, putting guys around him, at least this last season. I understand they drafted Bateman. They brought in Sammy Watkins. Oh, how much that is going to help.
Wait, I heard he was on the Bills.
Yeah, really. They attempted to get him help, but how much is that? Is it really going to help at the end of the day? And I think even last season, they really didn't, it didn't appear to me at least that they really designed a more pass-friendly scheme for Lamar Jackson. It was just a lot more running, run. Out of that they did that Heisman backfield. They did all that, all that bullshit. I just don't think he's getting help from his coaching staff either, which I feel is almost unfair to him, because don't get me wrong, as much as I don't think Lamar Jackson is a long-term quarterback, I like the kid a lot. I mean, he's very humble. He's a hard worker. He plays very hard. I would like him to be successful, but I just don't think he's in a position that is going to help him. And I think he could be a passer. I think anybody that is a quarterback in the NFL absolutely has some passing talent. But when you're not getting help from your own coaching staff in that aspect, then I would also have some worries. Maybe if he was, I guess it's hard to say if he was in a different offense, if it would be better for him. But I mean, then you could argue that he wouldn't be the prolific Lamar Jackson that he is if he wasn't in that type of scheme either.
Yeah, and I'm not smart enough to always be able to pick up when there's a place where Lamar should have put the ball instead of Lamar being maybe Tyrod was a good example. Like I don't want to throw it because I'm a little timid, but I'm just going to take off because I know I can get it with my legs. And that is not a bad skill to have. But I also think, he's going to make some big plays and he makes some highlight runs and you're like, wow, that was amazing. But I also think that could be a crutch. Instead of wanting to pull the trigger, that could also hinder you some. I'm arguing against myself, caveman.
Yeah, I know. It's turned into just a great. We'll figure it out. All these games will definitely start to unfold. But I enjoy just having conversation like this. I could talk about sports 24/7. Any conversation, anything about football, I could talk about. So regardless if it's gone a little off track, I do enjoy the conversation nevertheless. Why not ask another question? Why not just keep the conversation rolling a little bit? This question I came up with this question the other day. I've been dying to ask somebody. I asked my dad, but I want to definitely ask you right now. So with Trevor Lawrence coming into the league, he is supposed to be this generational talent. If you had the choice as a general manager, if you're rebuilding your team, starting from the ground up, would you take the chance with Trevor Lawrence? Or would you take a guy that's just as young as Trevor Lawrence that's coming into the NFL, but his career is going to turn out somewhat like Phillip Rivers? He's going to have like a Phillip Rivers type career. So would you take the chance with Trevor Lawrence or take the safe route in a guy like Phillip Rivers?
So I want to make sure I understand this question correctly. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that I take Trevor Lawrence and I maybe have a chance at a Super Bowl, or I take Phillip Rivers and never have a chance at a Super Bowl?
I guess my answer to that question would be you could surround a guy like Phillip Rivers with talent enough, or a guy that could be like Phillip Rivers with enough talent to get there, but you're taking the chance with Trevor Lawrence that you don't have to surround him with all that much talent in order to get there.
That's a spicy take because here's another devil's advocate for you.
Okay.
I think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer on his own.
Oh, wow. Really?
I do. I was a Phillip Rivers until the end, when he was last year in San Diego and last year with the Colts, and I live in Indy. So my wife's a Colts fan. And I get to see a lot of Colts football games, but when you watch Phillip Rivers throw that ball last year, it was like he had to wind up like Bugs Bunny to get that thing out, and he had to put his whole body into every throw, and it was almost comical. But outside of that, I was always a Phillip Rivers fan. He was on some really great teams in San Diego, and I do feel a little bad that he didn't get one. I know a lot of people don't like him because of all the trash talking he did. And
I've always liked him for that. I thought that was awesome. It's awesome to hear guys like that.
I don't really care for it when it's directed at me, but when I don't have a dog in the fight, I kind of like it. Yeah. But to answer your question, like I see nothing wrong with a Phillip Rivers type career because if you could just push reset, I mean, Phillip Rivers could have very easily got one. You know, those San Diego teams had top-rated defenses some years. They had LaDainian Tomlinson. They had number one. I think one year they had the number one offense and the number one defense and still didn't make the playoffs for some reason. So if you were going to just push reset, it's very likely that you would get a Super Bowl with that team.
Right. And that type of question is very dependent on, funny enough, I guess you just have a very higher opinion on Phillip Rivers than maybe the average football fan. But, you know, there are a lot of people that view Trevor Lawrence as somebody that is like generational. This kid is going to come in and, you know, not necessarily change the quarterback position, but he's going to be one of the better guys that we see in a very long time. And a lot of people see him that way. I don't personally see him that way. But I think I would almost just take the chance with Trevor Lawrence because he's got to be at least pretty damn good to some capacity if he's being touted that highly, you know. And I don't not like Phillip Rivers, but I guess it's just you would think he would have gotten one. He played for a very long time, like you mentioned, on a lot of different teams that were very good as well. I don't know. I think I'd almost just rather take the chance.
If you were ever seeking me out for a quarterback prospect opinion, you could almost just write it down. I'm going to be exactly wrong every single time. I'm always wrong. I was so wrong about Josh, and I was happy about that. But the way that I see Trevor Lawrence right now is, I mean, I don't watch college football religiously. I'm not a college football guy, but I try to keep up a little bit. And I'll watch clips and I watch ESPN. But, you know, I look at releases and I kind of form my own amateur opinion. I also I look at the way people carry themselves. Mm-hmm. And that matters a lot to me with my very stupid and unknowing opinion. But like I remember when Joe Flacco got drafted, and Joe Flacco was a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. Was he overrated? Absolutely. But he could hang. And I just like the way he carried himself. I see that in Trevor Lawrence. Now, I don't see that in Mac Jones, and I don't see that in Zach Wilson. But just when you see Trevor Lawrence on stage, or when you see him, he just has a presence about him. And that, I don't know, it probably means nothing at all, but I like what I see.
Yeah, I do as well. I don't disagree with anything that you said, especially the point about Mac Jones. Zach Wilson, I'm not too sure about, but Mac Jones, I think we can all agree that he probably won't have this crazy career that, you know, the Patriots might be hoping. But anyway, yeah, I fully expect Trevor Lawrence to at least be somewhat decent. I think I would agree. I never really thought about the way that you just mentioned, how you look at quarterbacks, the way they carry themselves. I guess, you know, once they're a couple of years into their career, I guess you can make an opinion, but I never thought about it with, you know, younger guys, especially guys that haven't played a game yet. So that's an interesting way to view quarterbacks. And I would agree, you know, now that I think about it, Trevor Lawrence definitely has a swagger to him. I think so as well. Maybe not as much swagger as Joe Burrow did. Joe Burrow came into the league high on some kite, 400,000 feet in the sky. Like Joe Burrow was the guy when he got to the league, and Trevor Lawrence, I guess, is, you know, somewhat riding that wave as well. But yeah, I mean, will he be as good as Jaguars fans are hoping, as people think he's going to be? I guess only time will tell. But at the end of the day, I think I am taking the chance with him over poor man Phillip. I feel bad for Phillip. I thought he deserved one as well.
Yeah, it's a very quiet confidence, I think, with Trevor Lawrence. And, you know, I don't feel like he's ever going to be flashy or, you know, going out there and trying to grab attention. And but I feel like he's just going to be very quiet and do his thing. And he's going to have that kind of professional aura about him. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably wrong because I'm usually am, but that's my very amateur opinion.
No, and I respect it. It makes complete sense. I mean, whether you're right or wrong, I don't think anybody can sit here and disagree or fault you for that opinion, because I think it's, you have very good reason for why you think what you do. All right, Vince, I think that will just about wrap it up. I did enjoy the conversation. I am still a little shocked that you think that Philip Rivers is a Hall of Famer, but nevertheless, I enjoyed the conversation. I want to thank you for being the first guest on Coach Me Up. I'm calling it Coach Me Up. Maybe the name will change, but I really thank you for experimenting with me on this first episode, because it definitely is something new for me. I don't do things with other people very often. I definitely want to start. So, thank you for joining me tonight on this Tuesday night, whenever this is released. But it is Tuesday, and I want to thank you.
Caveman, anytime. I'm a big fan, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm thrilled and honored that you want to be a part of it. And thank you very much.
Of course, I appreciate it, Vince. So yeah, that was the first episode of Coach Me Up. I think it was a little bit raw. It was a little bit new. But I think once I really start to smooth it out, this series will become a hit on my channel. I really am looking forward to it. It's a work in progress, but week by week, it will definitely improve, and you will be seeing those visible improvements. But nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this first episode. I hope you stick around for further episodes. I once again want to thank Vince for being a fantastic first guest. I couldn't have done it without him. I mean, he was the main guy for the video, so I really appreciate it, Vince. So thank you very much. If you have any thoughts, please leave them down in the comment section below. But if you enjoyed the video, and I hope you did, please like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. If you want to hit the bell to be notified when I upload, I would appreciate that. If you want to go over to Twitter, follow me over there. I would appreciate that as well. Be sure to check out Vince's podcast. The link to that will be down in the description below as well. I'm a part of the Built in Buffalo content creation team. If you enjoy Buffalo Bills content, be sure to subscribe and follow them on any social medias that you may have. And I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.